Hi. Before I start, is there anyone called Steve in the audience?
Yes,
any
Steve.
Steves? We've got Steve over there. Any Susans? Other people in their own research team to do it for them. I charge about 50 quid an hour for this. £100 an hour if it's anything really unusual, and I work in a darkened room, so I'm basically a laboratory whore. Now, one of my regulars works with bees. We like bees, we like to help bees. Mostly we help bees by putting them in the blender and squashing them to see if they're healthy. Seriously, that's what you do. You just squash your bee, you put it under the microscope, and you see what comes out. That way you know if that bee deserved to die or not. Yeah, I often take my work home with me. My wife doesn't usually notice until things start escaping, but working with bees all the time set me thinking, what about keeping some bees? So this spring I decided to actually take the crunch and ordered myself some bees. They arrive in the post. It's a very angry sounding box delivered by a very nervous postman who just sort of drops it down and runs away saying don't worry about the signature. They're fascinating things to keep. They communicate mostly by scent, which is why if you look around the hive, you'll see all these bees fanning their wings, sending out bowls of potpourri to attract all the foraging bees back home via the smell. And that's why if you put your nose right up to a beehive as well, you'll actually smell lemongrass just before your nose swells up to the size of a potato. But seriously, beehives do absolutely reek of lemongrass. It's the pheromone they use to navigate their way home. And it's really odd because they don't actually taste of lemongrass. They taste much more like chicken. They taste like wasps. Now, there's been a lot in the media recently, what with colony collapse disorder and pesticide bans and things about bees. Like most media coverage, those news stories have been rather sexist. Whenever you see news stories about bees, they talk about the queen bees, they talk about the worker bees. Well, all those bees are basically girls. And I don't think that's very fair. What about the boy bees? What about the drones? No one ever speaks up for them. So in the interest of sexual equality, I'm going to. Now, take Steve for example. I call all my drones Steve because it saves any form of favoritism. They also all look the same to me, so it's just simpler that way. Steve didn't have the best start in life. He was born from an unfertilized egg, which means he didn't have a father at all. He had no male role models in his life. No one to tell him about the birds or the bees. And he's a little bit demotivated because of this. He spends all day sitting around the hive. He's never actually learned to feed himself. Seriously, worker bees have to feed him mouth to mouth, which is great. They're all female. They just sort of come up to him, which sounds fantastic, but they're all his sisters, so that's just basically creepy. Now, eventually, Steve gets fed up with this. He decides it's time to give up on all this incestuous French kissing, and he decides it's about time he went out and spread his wings and saw the world. So he'll leave the hive, have a look around, patrols the neighbourhood a little bit, has a quick feel around so he doesn't get lost. Not that it matters if he gets lost, because drone bees can enter any hive they pass and the bees will take them in and feed them, so at least it's not all his sisters. But there's a catch, because drone bees have to mate. If a drone bee doesn't mate, the moment it comes to autumn, they're dragged out of the hive by the antennae and thrown onto the ground to die of either frostbite or starvation, whichever comes first. Now, poor Steve. We don't want that fate for Steve. Steve needs his love interest. Which brings me to Susan. Now, I call my queen Susan because, it saves me having to learn their names for real. Now, Susan's not a nice girl. She's not someone I'd take home to meet my parents at all, and certainly not to my wife. Susan's a bit of a diva. Susan likes to be the centre of attention all the time. She can't stand competition, and she has no morals about dealing with competition when it comes her way. Her first act when she hatches out is to go out and kill all her sisters before they even have a chance to open their eyes. All that murder makes Susan quite horny. She decides it's about time she went out and makes like Kate Middleton and goes out for a right royal gangbang. So she leaves the hive. Steve's oblivious to all this. Steve at this point has found himself a drone congregation area. It's where all the lad bees hang out in the sky together, swapping stories, occasionally zipping back to the hive for a quick top-up of honey. It's a bit like students dipping between the bar and the dance floor. If you've ever seen a bee thrown cover, then you'll know what I'm talking about. And drone bees are well equipped for spotting a little bit of bee punani when it goes past. They have these enormous wraparound eyes for panoramic vision, and they have massive antennae that's super sensitive that can sniff out a queen bee's lady garden from miles away. Steve puts all of this to really good use. He's there in the sky, swapping his stories, keeping an eye out. Is that one there? Oh, no, it's a fly. Oh, there. Oh, no. Oh, Oh, wasp in drag. But then he sees her. It's Susan. Susan zooming past. Her hands are still red with the blood of her sisters, but she is up for it. Steve's antennae quiver with anticipation when he realises no one else has seen her yet. Now for bees, foreplay is very much a matter of matching altitude and velocity. That's what Steve does. He plots an intercept course and he closes in. Up until this point, Steve has kept his wedding tackle carefully packed away for reasons of aerodynamics. Now is not the time for that. As the distance closes, Steve flexes his muscles and wham! Suddenly he's packing a dong the size of his own body and trying to keep airborne with it. As he closes it, his legs clamp on, he grabs hold of Susan and he rams his throbbing bee member home into Susan's tight little pussy. In a fraction of a second it's over, there's a pop, a bang, Steve falls to the ground in agony as his knob explodes. This is what happens with bees. For that to happen to a human, you would have to come with the force of a fire hose, which is about 100 kilopascals if you want to look it up. Someone actually did that experiment, I dread to think why. But it's not enough for Susan. She's up for more, she really wants more cock. Now, I'm not saying bees are undiscerning here, but if I saw one and she had a severed penis dangling out of her, I probably wouldn't be thinking that means she definitely does it. I certainly wouldn't reach down with my teeth, pull it out and then jump on for a go. But that's what the drones do, again and again, bodies falling from the sky. Now I said Susan's not a nice girl, but even she has her limits. When she's done this as little as 8 times, as many as 20 in some cases, she's starting to feel a little bit sore down there, and she's also feeling a bit bloated. At this point, she's carrying 10% of her body weight in sperm. That's like a human going home with a gallon of cum inside them and a severed penis holding it all in place. She staggers back to the hive and settles down to a life of egg-laying at the taxpayer's expense. Steve's body is never found. So please, next time you spread some honey on your toast, spare a thought for the drones and their enormous exploding knobs. Thank you.
He used a number of words that I'm not sure of the meaning of, but you all seem to laugh at the right points, so I'm assuming that you...